Welcome. This is Jeremy Zwinger with the Rice Trader, just doing a weekly summary on the TRT report. Obviously, it's been a bit of a slow week, it being the lunar Chinese New Year. In fact, I was traveling in Asia and just only a few hours ago finally returned back to the U.S. to be able to summarize this weekly report. So on that, obviously, a slower week with many of our clients off traveling, many of our clients not even in the home country. So it's not going to be a long update this week because that's probably the key summary piece. Outside of that, there has been some interesting movement. The first being Malaysia has obviously reportedly booked in 100,000 tons of white rice, 5%, from the Vietnamese mostly, which is very interesting with the Vietnamese price so cheap and dropping to 330, 320 over the last few weeks here. The interest in that origin has definitely dramatically increased and has led to opportunities such as this. So this Malaysia trade business is a bit of a surprise, but not really in the base of the current prices. I mean, getting Viet rice at 330, 340 even is such a cheap buy, even though there's massive pressure on this market with these huge supplies and new supplies coming on the market. And again, as we keep saying, you have a massive amount of Chinese both pressing on the market with exports, and just the huge amount of stocks is just not giving us much room to run. And that's for all the commodities, really. In addition to that, I guess the other key point I would say this week is the Philippines. It does seem like they are going to pass the Tarification Act. The president of the Philippines has signaled he's going to sign the bill. He actually didn't even need to sign it. He could have just actually allowed it to go into law by not signing it, which is an interesting twist versus the U.S. where a bill has to be signed by the president. But regardless, it does seem like that will happen in the next week. And the Philippines will start its move towards opening its markets to the international trade, which again is a whole other question. Is this the gray trade being more legalized? Is it a shift, and how is it all going to work? So I think it's fascinating as we look at that piece. Definitely needs to be watched very, very closely. So I guess it was a slow week in many ways, but also there has been some key things that we've seen. Outside of that, again, it's really the story of 2 to 3 different worlds. One, you have Thai rice at around 395, Viet rice called at 340. Pakistan 345 for high, and India at 370. And, that's a pretty huge spread for a market that once saw a $30 to $40 premium for Viet rice not so long ago. So it's very interesting overall. What else would I say? Early in the year, we're about 16% down going through the first month for the 5 majors. So the trade is not being that active. And definitely you can see that. I'm gonna actually share my screen here in just a second. I'm gonna show the key piece here. One I like to look on personally. When I show stuff, I like to see the prices, of course. But just to this graph here, as we look at it, there is just a lag happening in the trade. It's actually the worst start from our early indications of shipments we've seen in many, many years. So it's too early to really say too much has happened, but definitely worth a look. In addition to that, let's just kind of roll into what else is going on at TRT this week. We do have a special report, of course, on the glutinous market. We go quite in depth, as you can see, looking at the trade. And again, I love these quarterly reports that are much more in depth than I can just quickly say, where it goes through the data and definitely goes through the different players in the market and the shifts we're seeing. Very important for those in these markets to watch the quarterly trade. In addition to the glutinous market, which again has been very fascinating over the last year and seen some major shifts that we highlight right in this section here, which again is a key thing. A lot of our clients have asked us to highlight some of the key points at the top. I could read these off, but they're right in the section for you to see, to try to pull out those key things so it's not excessive amount of reading. In addition to that, it's been quite a busy report week on other levels. We also have a monthly special on Malaysia, and kind of go into that interesting shift of how imports have definitely increased, as we've seen this week with this surprise buying a little bit for these cheaper prices, and definitely seeing an increase in the amount of needs over time here in Malaysia. So a very active week with special reports. In addition to this, we also had a major shift with the USDA reports finally coming out. And we do see the USDA adding supplies. They've got the final acreage numbers in just now as well. And you're seeing some very interesting final pieces as, the markets have been quite negative. In fact, when I look at the markets, I always like to pull up the futures. I'm a big daily watcher of the futures. I like to, update pretty often per the day. And you're going to see the U.S. rough rice futures have just dropped, which we say in the TRT quite a bit. And you can see some of these later months are probably huge opportunities. I especially like to look at November 19 because the U.S. crop is very, very likely to show a huge gain unless these prices continue to drop and people pull out and blow other things. But even with the farm bill, you're going to have a huge rice crop, it looks like. But it's definitely a downward trend. We tested some of the $9 levels. It's probably heading back down there. There is a hole in the chart as well right here. You've busted out some of your resistances here. I would be surprised if it doesn't come back here and test these lower resistances in the next few months. So I like that November contract quite a bit. And with that, I'm gonna stop sharing that and just kind of finish off. What are some other things I'm seeing? Again, slow start to the year for sure, and in a lot of ways, but we're looking towards where we're headed. And it's too early to know what's going to happen to trade. These early smaller trades, some political issues are definitely on the market, but it'll be keen to watch what happens in the next couple of months. And actually next week too, we'll be traveling to Dubai mid next week, so I'll get to spend a whole 7 days in the California before heading back over to travel. That'll be a key time too. We're throwing our networking thing, so come have some good times with us there. Come to the seminar and just enjoy the fellow rice players in the world at that event. So it's a good start. Just to kind of close it out, we also have to talk about the U.S. There was a State of the Union address. It does seem to be kind of a shift going on. It's been pretty actually horrible in the U.S. with this lack of bipartisanship, a lot of infighting election-wise. It seems a shift has occurred. Many people believe a deal is being struck to have the border wall be put up and for the budget to be approved so there's not another shutdown. That would be a good sign for U.S. stability, especially on the governmental level. We're kind of in a wait-and-see attitude, but we got reports this week. We're seeing some positive signs. It could very well, this spells a change in the U.S. politics for a time and may even lead to President Trump being reelected again. Of all the interesting things of a shift in politics, that could actually be the outcome of what just occurred. So just to close, it's been a very busy week. It's a very long rice trader. There is a glutinous section, a Malaysian section, a USDA reports. We have the FAO estimates on prices, and also it's a monthly update in our key data in Thailand. So very active month, even though it's been a very slow week. Next week, hopefully, you guys get a chance to take a long look at the report because there is a lot of interesting pieces in these special reports and the data going on. With that, it's time to sign off. I appreciate your time. Hopefully you've enjoyed our little change here. I know our video has been a little bit grainy, and I'm working on getting a new camera to make it a little smoother and continue to work on our ability to show you the report in a way that is useful as we talk about what's happening this week and can share our screen and some of the thoughts that we have going on. With that, I just hope you guys have a good week, and I look forward to talking to you next week.